Millard West Mac Missing Alaskan Crabs proudly presents the Crab Lab. Welcome to the Crab Lab. Crabs are disappearing from this globe at an astounding rate. In an effort to fix this, humans try to genetically modify a crab to give it better survival chances. However, they added the wrong sequence and it went evil. It is up to you and your crab friends to collect all the restorative genetic keys to help bring this evil crab back and to fix the crab population problem. With the Crab Lab, we have built it to be a module-based board game system based off of D&D with lots of bioinformatics and cybersecurity references that are being taught throughout the duration of the game. To set up the game, we advise that the main rooms are placed around the tutorial space in a square. After this is completed, we advise that you put the boss room on the outside of the square and then move the tutorial room to a position also on the outside. Once this is completed, please place the player models in the tutorial room and the boss model in the boss room. Then you plug in the iPad and set it off to the side where all players can view it and access it. And then press start. To win this game, you must collect 8 gene sequence keys and then fight a final boss. Each round will consist of each player completing one action. These actions are 2 different types. You can either change a room and go to an adjacent room, but you cannot interact with any spaces, or you can move to a space, but you can only go to the ones that are not locked out. Now, there is 3 different spaces in each room. We have tasks, firewalls, and chances. Tasks give the player the chance to collect gene keys. You must complete a task in each room to unlock the boss fight. Tasks are locked out after successful completion and can be repeated if they are failed. Firewalls. Each round, there is a 33% chance for a mini-boss to spawn in a random room. By completing a firewall in the form of Simon Says, players can prevent mini-boss spawns in the room for the rest of the game. Firewalls lock out after their first attempt, regardless of success or failure. Chances. Chance spaces provide some good old luck into your game. Chance spaces have varying effects that are both positive or negative, or even neutral, including gaining an action or losing a turn. Chances lock out after 3 uses. Now, mini-bosses. There is a 33% chance for a mini-boss to spawn each round in a random room. Mini-bosses will only spawn in empty rooms that don't have a firewall. When a mini-boss is occupying a room, it must be defeated before doing any actions in that room. Fighting a mini-boss will count as a player's action. If they beat the mini-boss, they are free to move to a space. However, if they are defeated by the mini-boss, they do not get to continue their turn and the mini-boss retreats. As you can see with the gameplay being displayed, the players are going back and forth trying to complete the different tasks and figure out which space is the task. Each room has a different icon for the task, and with this variation, it allows the players to have a sense of curiosity on which space they need to be on to get the genetic keys. After each player has moved its player icon and done the appropriate action if necessary, the game controller, whoever is in charge of the iPad, clicks End Round. After they have clicked End Round, the game will have the possibility of spawning the mini-boss, and players can move on from there. If a mini-boss has spawned in the same room as a player, that will count as the player's action. Now, please note that after the mini-boss is defeated on the iPad, you must click Back to Beginning, or something along that lines. This ensures that the mini-boss is actually defeated, and if you fail to defeat the mini-boss, it will despawn. Another thing to note is, with the chance, it has the possibility of spawning a mini-boss. Mini-bosses can be placed wherever a player chooses on this chance. However, if a player does not get to that space after 3 rounds, it will despawn. You can see this demonstrated in our gameplay. Now, for the task questions, there is a variety of different types. These might include everything from morals to ethics to even decryption questions. If you need any help with the binary decryption questions, going either from decimal to binary or the opposite way, inside the rulebook there is a awesome graphic designed by our content and rule developer that is showing how to decrypt or encrypt binary. Now, as this is a themed competition based off of bioinformatics and cybersecurity, we have tried our best to include some research in our rulebook that best shows how these different fields can be implemented and displayed through our simple game. Now, the overall idea of this game is to save the crab population by genetically modifying the evil crab back to normal and making it so that the population can regrow back to previous levels. Now, what is even causing this problem? Well, up in Alaska, there is a crab crisis. This has canceled the crab fishing season for 2022. In fact, 11 billion crabs have gone missing in total. This includes false and true crabs. Now, true crabs are crabs that have 4 pairs of lanky legs, while false crabs only have 3. False crabs will also have a much smaller pair towards their back. This does not include the claws for either set of crabs. True crabs will also have shorter abdomens that curl underneath their bodies to protect their inner organs, while false crabs will have longer ones that do not have the same effect. True crabs are also more likely to be carcinide, and science is constantly rewriting these as new fossils, evolutions, and species are found, so this is up to date as of December 9th, 2022. Now, with these 11 billion crabs that are gone missing, NOAA has published many reports. However, they blame overfishing, while private researchers show that the crabs don't have the necessary breeding grounds anymore in Alaska, and they were forced to migrate further north or just die off without mating or breeding. It is this loss of habitat that is critically impacted by humans. Human pollution in the water has created the chemical balance to be off, and climate change has raised the temperature of their breeding grounds. As found in our rule books, underneath ecosystems, crabs are notable for living in water and sometimes even land. They have to be in soft, sandy, or muddy ocean bottoms. These are typically 650 feet deep or less. Now, because of these softer surfaces, they are able to protect themselves and thus are able to survive their environment. Now, with their life cycle, they can lay a huge number of eggs, but in order for these eggs to actually hatch, there has to be a certain level of temperature inside the breeding grounds. This temperature is critical for the eggs to be born. After they are born, they become larvae and must survive 2 to 3 months while be constantly threatened with the possibility of death. After they have come to close this phase, they settle on the soft seafloors, which triggers their molting cycles to start forming and evolves them into becoming their matured selves. It is these matured selves that are able to mate and breed, restarting the entire system. Now, what's about this migration? Well, as crabs mature, they have to achieve this regular molting pattern, but they have a very set migration pattern. They will go north after they have mated and bred, and they will return that spring in the same breeding grounds to release the eggs, which takes about a year to incubate. Now, how do we fix this? Well, this is where we get to the boss part of this game. With the game, we have, after you have collected all the genetic keys, you teleport to the boss room and you fight them with a various number of questions. These include the possibility of introducing our players to genetic rescue and genetic modification. Genetic rescue is the idea that you can introduce other species with differing genes to allow diversity to be made. Genetic modification is the idea of altering the genes to better make them adaptable. And as addressed in the finality of this game, whether you win or you lose, gene modification is the best way to solve this problem. Genetic modification will allow the crab's eggs to adapt to the changing conditions and be able to survive. However, as of right now, this practice is not able to be implemented. We thank you for your time, and we will see you in April with this full product ready for you to play.